Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel, a very long awaited video that I'm very excited to do. Today we're going to be discussing Thousand Year Blood War, the arc as a whole, in the famous series The Bleach Anime Returns. However, for today's video we have the great guest, the Clyde.
Thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. It's been a long time coming for the audience that doesn't know. We planned to do this for a while, but like our schedules and things getting in the way delayed it quite a bit. But yeah, when it comes to podcast stuff, I've done a couple of podcasts for people who have like much smaller platforms than myself, and I'm like, listen, when I was a smaller channel, I always hated people like, you know, giving me the cold shoulder or being super rude, so I don't ever want to be that person, and I'm really happy to be on, man. Thank you for inviting me on.
No problem, man. I'm really happy that we could finally get like the schedules to align after like 2 months, I think it's been, which is like really crazy.
Oh, better late than never, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I get everybody's busy, but I'm just really excited to do this. So I wanted Clyde to come on, one, because you've been talking about Bleach for quite some time now, and I think that's very cool, and it's a very cool discussion to have, because for the longest time Bleach wasn't coming back, and now we know it's coming back, not only in anime format, but even potentially like with the new Hell arc and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I thought that would be a very interesting discussion to have with you, but more specifically, because I've never actually sat down with a Bleach power scaler and discussed anything with one of them before, so I thought that would be very interesting to take a look at some of the key power scaling ideas, because I have watched all your videos, and some of the ones that are no longer on the channel, when it comes to power scaling, and I think it's an interesting concept. Thousand Year Blood War isn't, of course, mentioned that much. I assume your favorite arc is like the arrancar arc, probably?
No, I actually like the war the most. The only things I like out of the arrancar arc the most is definitely the all the Grimmjow stuff is very cool, and I like all the Ukiora stuff. There's a lot of stuff that really drags on, and I don't feel like the captains necessarily, like, their fights in Karakura Town, to me, they could have been better. Like, they really could have been better. And it also doesn't help because then the villains don't look as cool. Like, a lot of people, you know, they see Stark as like, oh, he doesn't even like do anything that flashy, so he doesn't come across as that strong in terms of like, you would expect someone who's the number one Espada to be like, alright, bang, shoots off one Zero and blows up like half the planet. Like, that's what you would expect. But he, you know, he doesn't really give off that vibe. And then again, there are so many fights in that arc, in both the manga and the anime version, that are just so unnecessary and dragged on that it kind of bothers me. Like, I generally like the Bleach anime, and I think it does a great job. Filler aside, it's generally pretty decent, right? But I can see where a lot of people like the idea of a remake of the entire series rather than just the war. But when it comes to, you know, which arc I definitely like the most, I would say elements of the arrancar arc, but I actually like the war. I just feel like if I was to be sitting down with Mr. Kubo, I could actually assist him with being like, listen, we're going to flesh out like a lot more backstory stuff here. You've got to have Grimmjow be a bigger part during certain moments. Like, he shouldn't have been shouldn't have just been hinted at the start and then brought back way later. I feel like he wasted the opportunity to have Ichigo have like a rival character that is consistently on his team from the start, that's also from the Hollow side, which is like a rarity to, it's like, dude, where do we ever see Hollows being friends with, like, you know, like the Soul Reapers? Like, that'd be a pretty cool thing, and we see a bit of that near the end of the war when Grimmjow appears, but I was like, damn, there's good chemistry here. Like, you could have easily did this at the start of the war, bro. Like, you could have had I don't know, the idea I had in a past video was basically like, have Grimmjow join Ichigo, and then when he goes to the Zero Division, like, you could probably have it so like Grimmjow enters the Soul Society after Ichigo gets beaten by Hushvolth and Yuhabak, and then it's like he just appears randomly and he's like, what the, you know, like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, I just you know, found what, it's like, he could be like, oh, I just seen what Quilgay did and I finished him off, what are you doing in here? And you just got beaten. It's like, what the hell? So then obviously from that moment you could probably have like Ichigo and Grimmjow go to the Zero Division. Ichibei is able to, because Zanpakutos and the Zanpakutos of Espada are actually, like, the Zanpakutos of Espada are based on Shinigami powers, like, verbatim. That's how Aizen, like, worked everything with the Hogyoku. So it's like, alright, what if Ichibei, and I know this is all headcanon shit, but it's just an idea I had, what if Ichibei's like, alright, and as for you, Mr. Grimmjow, Hollow Man, like, I'm gonna teach you how to get your second release? It's like, bro, there you go, there's something cool, like, cause he's the man who knows the words of, like, every Zanpakuto, like, he's meant to, you know, put power into words, so it's like, that'd be cool, but that's an idea I had, but,
That would actually be a very interesting idea. I never thought of the story heading towards that direction. Obviously, we know Grimmjow was around at the start of the arc, and then we see him again at the end, like with the explosion being caused directly by him. So there's that. And I think that would be very interesting if Grimmjow was definitely more connected. I think a lot of the other characters should have been more in the plot too. But out of the 1,000-Year Blood War, what's your favorite part of the story?
The fights. Like, that's one thing I'm excited to see in motion, is that the entire arc it's got like 50 plus fights, and I'm like, so every week or so, you'll see like anime fans getting excited about like a lot of these newer generation series having these animated fights happen in their series or things in the manga, and I'm like, oh, you guys ain't seen shit. Like, we have a whole arc of Bleach that's gonna have like, bro, even the starting fight with Ichigo versus Quilgay is going to be insane. Like, that fight is really good. And then Asnot is going to be a massive fan favorite straight away. Like, the whole horror aspect, how scary he is. The fake Yuha fighting everybody. Kenpachi coming back with all the Quincy's on his back, and he's, like, explaining how he killed them all. And it's like, bro, there's going to be some insane moments. Even the girls, like, Bambietta's really overpowered, and Candace and people like that, they're all very strong characters. And I'll tell you what, I really never liked Renji much. Like, not that I disliked him, but I didn't care for him. And when he basically got his new version of his Bonkai, where he was told about how the sword was lying to him about its name, when he fights the superstar, like, that's a crazy fight. Like, that dude's really overpowered, and then it makes him look cool. So, looking forward to that. Looking forward to Rukia things. Looking forward to, you know, Yamamoto. Ichibe versus Yuha Bark is going to be absolutely crazy. Like, that fight is so wild. So, can't wait for that, and, there's so many.
Among the fights, which one has to be your favorite?
Favorite fight? Going back and reading Yuha Bark versus Ichibe is really damn good, because it's such a back and forth contest, and it's the real Yuha fighting, which is nice. I do like the Quilgay fight a lot, because I like that form of Ichigo quite a lot. It's going to be funny to watch Ichigo appear and make Shaz Domino vanish just from him appearing in Soul Society. That's going to be pretty fucking insane. But favorite fights? Ooh. It's actually hard to say. I quite like Shunsui versus Lily Barrow. That's a fight I like. Like,
Let's go.
Yeah, I think because the war hasn't been animated, like, a lot of average anime fans don't know just how overpowered these Quincy's are. And, like, when they talk about, like, oh, this character from this character would solo this verse, I'm like, bro, some of these Quincy's, bro, you throw them into some anime verses and they would, like, never die. Like, Lily Barrow is killing, like, literally killing, like, some verses by himself. Like, the dude's got a gun. Yeah, Gerard, too. Gerard's, like, infinitely fucking get stronger. Like, and he's ridiculous, too. He has, like, the power of miracles, and then X-Axis has this power, which is in his base form that people forget about, where it's like, so, I'm not sure if I'm remembering it incorrectly, so don't quote me on this, but if you guys correct me in the comments, you'll know what I'm talking about. So basically, he has like this power where it's like, if his eye opens or whatever, he can like reverse reality or some shit like that. Like, he makes something not happen, and it's like, holy fuck. And then he has a gun where he says verbatim, there is no delay between the barrel of the gun and it hitting the object. So it's like, you can shoot through anything instantaneously, reverts damage and shit like that, is intangible, can like transform 3 times, and survived Shunsui's like execution Bonkai, which was like transcended, hacks as fuck, like just ridiculous.
Yeah, Lily Barrow has to be, I wasn't the biggest fan of Lily Barrow as a Stern writer. Like, I didn't really care about him as a character or who he was, but he was just such this threatening force that was in the story when he fought Shunsui, and Shunsui overcoming him was insane. And I do love how Shunsui's Bonkai, the moment he activates it, the whole almost solitude despair feeling everyone felt. Especially solitude, because I found that aspect to be very interesting about the Bonkai. Because it reminded me like a lot of Stark. Yeah. The whole solitude aspect.
Yeah, the whole loneliness, like dark, depressing feel to it. It gives everybody the chills too. I was working with Seth on his recent captain's ranking video, and there's a part where it's compared to the Yamamoto Bonkai reveal, and both of the basically both the transformations are reminiscent of one another, where Shunsui gives everybody the chills, whereas Yamamoto makes the atmosphere feel dry and like their lips are cracking and they can tell something's going off. And it's like Asuka and Naklivar and then War Ichigo both sense how overpowered Shunsui's Bonkai is, which is very impressive.
Yeah. So this is actually an interesting question, because like the more I think about Shunsui and his abilities, the more I wonder from like a power scaling perspective. Because I don't power scale. I'm very lore based when it comes to Bleach. I don't mess with power scaling and stuff. But I've been in a few discussions where some people have said that Shunsui would beat like end of series Shunsui would beat Yamamoto. What do you think about that? Because I disagree with that. I think Yamamoto would win.
Oh, no chance.
But I don't know the feats.
No chance. Yamamoto's faster. It's so.
Yeah.
I'll lay it out like this. So it works very simple. So data books say that Yamamoto is the best at using Hakuda, Kido, and pretty much like flash step, like the four like fighting techniques of the Shinigami. He's the best at verbatim. He's got the most destructive Zanpakuto of any Shinigami. By default, that means he's stronger than any other Shinigami in raw power. When he has his sword stolen by Wonder Weiss, it's stated in the data books that Yamamoto is not he's not in a situation where Aizen's a threat. Like, he still believes he can go over there and whoop his ass without his sword, so that's pretty crazy. He almost kills Aizen with a Kido too, without the assistance of his sword, after taking a point-blank explosion from his own Shikai's power. There's also, there's a lot of stuff. Like, data books say that Yamamoto has stayed as the strongest Shinigami for 1,000 years. People like to say, oh, well, that only counts after Unohana stopped fighting. It's like, no, bro. So this is how Unohana worked originally. She was a rogue Shinigami that basically, like, fought because it was fun. Why would she follow Yamamoto if Yamamoto was weaker than her? It makes no narrative sense whatsoever. Yamamoto verbatim has kept them in line. Yuhabak's mouth, like straight out of his mouth, he said it himself. And then like with Yamamoto too, in his Shikai, Ukitake says he has transcended spiritual pressure in Shikai. Like, that's what he says in the Soul Society arc. So if this dude, because Yuhabak says during the fight that he has with Yamamoto when he's on the ground, he basically like looks at him and he's got his foot on his head and he's like, you old man, if you had have just got your arm healed, I would have considered you a war potential. But it's like, the reason I'm saying this stuff is because both villains consider Yamamoto a massive threat, right, above pretty much every other Shinigami. And
they don't consider Shunsui to be a threat.
They don't consider Shunsui in the same ballpark. They also don't consider Unohana in the same ballpark, even though she's the original Kenpachi, which by default puts her above Shunsui. Also, the other thing is that Yuha says that only he could seal Yamamoto's Zanpakuto. Only he of all Quincy's. Which means that Yamamoto scales above the Royal Guard Quincy's, which are the, Lily Barrow, the Miracle, blah blah blah, etc. In spiritual pressure alone. Shunsui also in the novels makes this statement where basically he says in his own words that he places Yamamoto's level of power in a different echelon compared to other characters in the series. And he, like, it's in a respectful way. Obviously, he sees Yamamoto as stronger than him. And again, like, the most destructive Zanpakuto goes Bonkai. Shunsui gets blitzed, like, and gets his head punched off. Like, it's that simple. Like, I don't think he'd need to use Bonkai. I think in Shikai he would overpower Shunsui. And you could say, oh, well, they held their own in the Soul Society. Like, bro, that was not a serious fight. Like, that was Yamamoto, like, just angry at them. That was it.
Yeah, and also at the same time, you could tell that Yamamoto probably wouldn't want to hurt them. He was just trying to kind of test them and try to figure out why they did the decision.
That was part of it, wasn't it? Yeah, it was like, so in that fight, like, obviously Yamamoto, he's trying to teach them a lesson. He still sees them as kids in his eyes. But he doesn't actually want to hurt them. He's just like, what are you guys doing? I'm trying to uphold justice here. Like, you guys are dicking around and saving this, this Ryuka. Like, what the fuck's going on? But yeah.
So we agree, definitely. I was all for Yamamoto whooping Shunsui.
Oh, Shunsui never got stronger. Like, there's nothing that says Shunsui got stronger in the time skip. So.
I was saying that too in the discussion that I was having with another individual. But again, I don't read the data books. I don't know any of that information.
I've given you the most easy way to do it. And here's another thing too. Yeah. That you could probably argue that Shunsui is even weaker than he was when he fought Stark because he lost an eye. So it's like, bro, like...
True! Yeah. I never thought about it that way. But yeah, I've always... The thing with Shinsui's character is I think he's a menace. I think he's powerful. But I think Yamamoto's in an entirely different ballpark than Shunsui.
If Aizen's statement's true, where he says, higher spiritual pressure cancels out abilities, the Bonkai from Shunsui wouldn't damage Yamamoto because he would just stand there in his Bonkai armor. And by the way, that armor is so overpowered that Hushvolth couldn't perceive its spiritual pressure. It was invisible to him until Yamamoto showed it to him. And, like, this is Hushvolth we're talking about. And that was someone that swapped blows with Shunsui.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about the Basby statement? I think Basby
he was being braggadocious. It's bullshit because remember when they all try to jump Yamamoto and he just like gets them to fuck off with his base form flames.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's him bluffing, and Yuha says he's not at full power anyway, so it's irrelevant.
Yeah, no, I agreed. I thought he was bluffing. I was just curious on your perspective on that.
Yeah, it's just a braggadocious statement. That's all it is. Like, it's just a character that it's like all right, because someone might say, no, Clyde, that's headcanon, bro. Like the author wrote it that way. Okay, I'll give you an example, bro. Ukiora thought no one could cut him. Like that's what he said verbatim.
And like he knew that Aizen existed, and Gin existed, and several other characters out there existed. Bro. And then also, if we take Basby's character as a whole, Basby is the type of character that would be very brag like that.
Yeah, exactly. He acts a lot like a little bit different, but he's got that Grimjaw type aesthetic to him. I'll give you a quick example, and I'll let you continue. Omaida says, so I was rereading some chapters while editing Seth's video, and I'm reading Omaida talk in his head about Soifon. He's like, whoa, if Baragon can keep up with Soifon's speed, being the fastest Soul Reaper in the Gotei 13, like, this guy's even more scary than Aizen. And it's like, alright, that's what you call a faulty narrating statement from a character. Like, that's an inconsistent narrator. Like, that character right there, the author has shown us that this individual does not have the knowledge to make a statement that great. Just like Noetora doesn't have the knowledge, doesn't have the actual right to say he is uncuttable because it's a bluff and it's a part of his pride tied into his narrative, and then Kenpachi's meant to be the clashing narrative of, you know, he's going to show him that, like, no, you can be cut. Like, that's, I'm here to destroy that thought in your head. And then, and then with Basby, it's like, you know, Yamamoto's dead, braggadocious. Unohana has a statement to Kenpachi where she says, you know, no one is stronger than me right now. You know, only you can be stronger than me if he's to reach that level. And it's like, some people interpret that as like her being stronger than every Soul Reaper, but it's said after Yamamoto's dead. So it's like, yeah.
I think, and then another thing is if you're going through the trouble of like making that assumption, that I think power scaling becomes very wanky in the Bleach verse. Like if you're gonna say Unohana is stronger than Yamamoto, Kenpachi's stronger than Unohana, then like the list becomes very faulty with like all the new power-ups that happen against Gerard or Gerard.
Yeah, because then it's like, bro, does that mean that like Toshiro and Byakuya have just surpassed Yamamoto's 2,000 years of training in that instance?
Then I was saying, then it would be contradictory of what you brought up earlier, where Uobach made the statement that only he can contain the Ryatsu of Yamamoto.
Yep.
And, you know, then that means that Gerard would have been able to contain Yamamoto's Ryatsu because he was able to deal with Byakuya, Kenpachi, and Toshiro all at the same time.
Yep.
So then it would be like faulty shifting, and I think if you're gonna make the statement that Unohana is stronger than Yamamoto, it literally breaks the Bleach verse.
It's fucking stupid because scaling. I'll tell you what. So Yamamoto says word for word he didn't use the well, it's a mixture of a couple of things. So he says he didn't show the full extent of his Bonkai, and that was against the Yuha that actually had the Almighty in the past. He also, it's also implied Yamamoto's swords evolved over time. This is a normal thing that happens in Bleach. Shinigami's Zanpakuto abilities evolve as they get older. And then, with, you know, just by that alone, it's like, bro, he's fighting an entity with the Almighty that's already by default stronger than pretty much every Shinigami. Like, it's kind of, because, Seth and I were speaking recently about, like, Ichibe versus, Yamamoto, and the truth...
I was about to ask you that!
Well, the truth is this, actually, we started to go back and forth, we weren't debating, like, we had a disagreement, we were generally just discussing, like, what we thought, and, we were like, realistically, like, Ichibe throws his ink onto Yamamoto's, Bonkai armor, and it gets evaporated, like, because not only is the spiritual pressure better than Ichibe's, but if we go consistently with the story's narrative of spiritual pressure clashing with the other and disabling an ability of that said individual, well, Yamamoto doesn't ever get hit by the ink, and he chases Ichibe down and cuts him and kills him. Because I'll tell you why also. So, there is a statement in the manga, which is connected to the Transcendent page about Yamamoto, and it says he has the oldest Zanpakuto, and the most destructive. Like, by default, bro, he has something that's more deadly than Ichibe, like with raw power. That means he just needs to land a blow and he wins. It's that simple. Like, Ichibe, the second Yuha got his almighty powers back, he gets absolutely shit on. But then Yamamoto beat that Yuha in the past, you know? So, interesting.
Yeah. So here's a question. It doesn't have to do with Thousand Year Blood War, but with Seth's new Gotai 13 ranking, I know that you added to the video.
Yeah.
Do you agree with all the takes, or is there one placement that you would change?
No, I do agree. Actually, no, I don't disagree. The more I was watching it, while editing it, the more I agreed, because he asked me what I thought about certain places, and I gave him, like, a general idea. If I was to, like, with anything, like, if I haven't researched it recently, like, I'll just be honest and say, I can't give you, like, my actual, like, video tier, like, reply of what I would if I was to make the video, but this is generally what I think, so I gave him an idea. He did his own research, and it was good. I actually do agree. He highlighted some gain points, which was very fascinating, and I did agree with. And then he actually, we spoke about, like, the Yami stuff and the Ukiora stuff, and I'm glad he does agree with my stance on that stuff, because the preponderance of evidence towards Ukiora being the strongest of Sparta is just, it's so slap in the face, bro, and it's like, I'm glad he agrees, because he was being very open-minded with it in the video and allowing people to make up their own minds.
I know, yeah, in the video I know he left open-ended because that is one of the most discussed things in the Bleach community, the most argued things. I personally believe Ukiora is the strongest based off of my own, from more of a narrative standpoint alone. Yeah. I don't do feats, like I mentioned earlier, which is why it's so interesting, because I'm more of a narrative-driven person. I know you're more of a mixture of a narrative, but more, like, feat-focused, and you're more power scaling. So it's an interesting discussion.
When I did the Ukiora video, and that goes for the recent one, the Stark video has my most updated sort of, like, scaling on it, and I actually found out even recently that the evidence more so implies that Ukiora is stronger than Yami, based on the way that Aizen sends Ukiora on missions, but it doesn't say Yami's included. Yami just follows Ukiora, which is interesting. So, like, Aizen initially was going to send Ukiora... Like, just consider this for a second. Aizen was going to send Ukiora by himself to the world of the living. And he did say, yeah, watch out for, you know, insert Yoruichi, Ishin, maybe Shinji or whoever else he thinks there. He's like, yeah, just be careful of those guys. But he didn't, like, send him out there knowing he was going to die. He's just like, yo, be careful. And then we sort of know this because... We know this is probably consistent because Ukiora does have prior knowledge of who Kisuke and Yoruichi are, which means that those two were two of the people he was probably warned about, and the third was probably Ishin. If it's not Ishin, again, it's probably Shinji. It can't be Ichigo, because Ichigo was the mission, but he was warned about 3 specific separate people. So, yeah, it's just interesting to think
And then
about.
At the same time, even when Ukiora was leaving, like, Yoruichi was, like, taunting him, and Kisuke literally, like Ukiora looked at him and said, again, it's been a while since I've read the arrancar, but Ukiora said something along the lines as...
Yeah, he goes, you know what would happen? Yeah. You're protecting that trash, like, you don't want to do this, pretty much like that, yeah.
Yeah, he's basically saying that their power, like, sure, those two together might be stronger than him in total, but at the end of the day, those two having to protect someone at the same time would lose, is basically
I would say,
I get.
I agree about. I would say this, so, like, people haven't heard me talk about, like, the actual fights itself right there, how it would go, because I just basically imply in the videos, like, listen, this is where the author's telling us he is in power. I'm not saying he wins, but I believe if Yoruichi goes, you know, I don't know, she fucking whips out her hypothetical sword, goes Bonkai, even without the sword, goes God of Thunder, that's going to put her on the level where she's probably rivaling second release Ukiora, or she's in, at least relative to the first release. And then with Urahara assisting her with his Bonkai, and then Kito's, he's going to be a massive problem because he's going to, like, you know, plant shit on Ukiora. It's going to be dangerous. In one-on-one fights, it's a little different, though, because Ukiora, you gotta think about it like this. Ukiora base already is above captain level. First release, he absolutely destroys, like, the holified Ichigo, which, like, you know, had already fought, like, Grimjow and gotten stronger passively as the battles went on. He even stands there and he's like, go on, load up your Getsu Getensho and throw it at me. And he just stands there and doesn't even touch him. And it's like, he then blitzes him so fast that Ichigo almost gets beheaded in first release. And then second release is so strong that Uryu thinks that the spiritual pressure is like alien to him, but he was like he was in the Soul Society, and he sensed like characters that are in like a very high tier of power transform and fight, and he never reacted like that to any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's fascinating. One-on-one at that point in the story, Ukiora is he's a big threat. And this is something people don't even pay attention to. Like, Yoruichi literally is damaged the next day from hitting Yami, like just from connecting blows. And then she says like the arrancar was stronger than we thought. And then they make armor to combat those hollows. That's how intense they were to fight. Because the armor she whips out against Aizen, that wasn't for Aizen. That was for the arrancar. Like.
And then Aizen just destroys the armor. Oh my gosh, Aizen is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with the rankings, so you would agree first Kenpachi stronger than Shunsui probably. I mean, I think so.
Oh, do I think Kenpachi is stronger than Shunsui?
The first Unohana. Would you say?
Yeah, I think Unohana's stronger than Shunsui. Yeah. You could probably make some argument that Shunsui's Bonkai can affect people that are even stronger than him, because Lilibaru was winning that fight very comfortably. And he was then able to, damage him with it, because his Bonkai, it's almost like a video game ability where it's like once you're locked in the game, you're fucked. Like that's pretty much how it works.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it did damage him. So I would just say Unohana wins 9 times out of 10. The one time Shunsui cuts her head off with the final slash of the Bonkai.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think definitely from a story narrative perspective, she has to be. And then also attached to that would be Kenpachi Zaraki as well. It's a very interesting discussion on who is the strongest captains. Like, how would you rank them, at least at the end of 1,000 Year Blood War? Like a quick ranking, like not a super thought out one, but where would you rank the end of series captains of the Gotai 13? Not including.
I can't say. Honestly, I really can't give you an answer, just because there's too much complicated battles because when you scale the captains, you have to bounce the scaling off of which Quincy's they fought, and then you've also got to weigh. Okay, did the captain go full power in that fight? And then it's like, how would they perform against a different one? Like, look at Mayuri. This motherfucker is fighting Pineda, like, and doing well and keeping up with its speed. And then you have, Kenpachi going in against the Miracle, picking it up and smashing him on the ground, like he's like grabbing his foot and lifting him up. But then it's like he's 2 hacks to beat. So it's like, does that mean does that mean that he's not that impressive? Because he was still able to cut him in half and do all that and so on. But the way he fights is a bit of a. It sort of doesn't benefit him because he's a bit of a brawler character, but then like someone who's more hacks might be able to stay away. But again, I would just say this, to be completely honest with you. I don't know at this point in time because I haven't researched enough to make my own formulated opinion.
Who do you think is at least the current strongest captain of the Gotai 13?
So it is supposed to be Kenpachi, because the Shunsui statement to Central 46 was basically, if we don't get Kenpachi strong now, we're going to lose the war. So what does that tell you? It doesn't tell you that Kenpachi is just at a snap of a finger become the strongest after beating Unohana, but it does tell you that his purpose in the story is to eventually become a replacement for Yamamoto's power that is now missing. Not saying he's going to be head captain, but he's meant to be something greater. And if Shunsui thinks that he is a bigger priority than himself, even as head captain, by default, he's sort of conceding, while he is the Kenpachi, he now retains the real title after actually beating Unohana again and getting his real powers back. And not just that, bro, he didn't just get his powers back, he awakened his Shikai and Bonkai, which is disgusting, and then, had so much power that when Yoichiro would just, like, put a smidgen of power into his body, it would, like, split his arm apart, like.
I mean, I used to have a very different perspective on it, but I think every time I reread the material, every time I reread, again, I haven't read the dad books, but every time I think about the statement more, I initially came to the conclusion that I thought Shinsui's direct Bonkai, well, not Shunsui, but Shunsui as a character was the current strongest of the Gotai 13. But the more I think about it, the more I kind of align with where you're saying Kenpachi being there. I just think
if he goes
from a
Bonkai,
narrative perspective
you
too.
go.
Yeah, and also Kenpachi's Bonkai being so powerful that we take a look at Gremmy, who just imagined having the power of Kenpachi and it destroying his body. Like, that was foreshadowment for Kenpachi's Bonkai, him becoming a beast and exploding.
Yeah.
Which I think Kubo brilliantly does in that section of the story. I know a lot of people hate how Gremmy dies and gets taken out. I actually like it. I think it's foreshadows Kenpachi's Bonkai almost perfectly. I get why some people dislike it, though. Speaking of the Stern Rider, which one is your favorite?
Favorite Stern Rider? I do like Bambietta a lot. I like Lily Barrow. Yeah. Who else? I actually thought Hushveld was going to be cooler. He turned out to be a bit of a disappointment to me personally. I was really expecting him to... I don't know. When I was reading it in 2014, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, this guy is gonna have he's gonna have like 2 Volständigs and he's gonna be really, really overpowered. But like he never, like, I mean, people would say, well, he can use the Almighty and switch between Yuha. Like, no, that's just him using Yuha's powers. That's not cool. Like, I want a character to have his own unique, insane ability, which I guess he sorta has one, but it's just like. I'm imagining Harshvolf to when he goes into his Volständig that he has like wings like an angel and he's like really overpowered and stuff, like, but didn't give me that sort of vibe. Gremmy's cool. Don't like the edgy personality.
He's a Reddit user.
There's a page that literally says I am the Edge or something like that, like during the Gremmy fucking fight. It's like, yeah, something like that. I am the Edge, and it's like, oh, such a fitting word.
Yeah, Gremmy's a Reddit user.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I don't know. I don't know if he'd be a 4chan guy or a Reddit guy.
No, I think he's more of a 4chan guy than a Reddit guy.
Yeah. Because Reddit sometimes comes across as a bit neckbeardy, but like 4chan's a bit like you're either a massive degenerate or you're a very edgy individual. So
yeah, I think Gremmy is like the perfect example of a 4chan user. Uryu looks like a Reddit user.
Like pushes up the glasses.
Yeah,
and he's like pushes up the glasses like actually
When I was watching Bleach, not for the first time, but I had a friend watching it for the first time with me. He couldn't remember the names, so he would come up with nicknames for him, and he called Uryu the Reddit user.
That's so cringe, but I mean, I guess it works.
It works. Speaking of which, what did you think about the whole Uryu's role during 1,000 Year Blood War? Because personally, I wish it was more. Like, I wish Uryu had actually killed a captain or something like that. And I think that would have laid a whole lot more.
That would have been insane. That's a really good idea. Yeah. Like, if he... Yeah, who could he have killed?
Soifone would have worked. She doesn't really have that much importance into the story later on.
But you've got to think of someone who's going to create shock. Because Soifon could get killed and it wouldn't change too much. But what if there was like some random arrow that comes out of nowhere and kills Ukitake as he's trying to use the Mimihagi, and it's like...
that would be awesome.
That'd be insane, bro. Because everybody would be like, oh my god, like all the captains would be like so pissed at him.
Yeah, because they trusted this guy almost in the past, you know.
Ichigo would be like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know why he's acting like this. Like, what the fuck's going on? And like, you know, he's like...
Like, you could tell from the start of the story that was almost fake and that he was, you know, just working for them. But, like, if he had killed a captain, I think people would have second-guessed it a lot more. You know what I mean?
You know, even if he turns out to be a good guy at the end, too, it adds a layer of commitment to the fact that he played the role so hard, which is even more... It's sort of like more commendable as a good character, so I think that's a good idea. I think that would have been a really good idea if he was to do something like that, because he drank the blood of Yuha, so like, I mean, why not? Why not go the extra mile and like, you know, have that crazy like change for him as a character?
I wish it took place like that. I wish Uryu had that extra layer of development into the story, because I think it would have added a whole lot new interesting perspective between him and Ichigo. Yeah. But like following that concept and that idea, Aizen, do you think the story, because I know I've watched some videos of people thinking this, saying that the story of Bleach was leading towards an Ichigo versus Aizen final fight at the end of the 1,000 Year Blood War.
I never got that vibe at all. The actual fight at the end of the series that I thought was going to happen was him and Grimmjow again. Because at the end of the third fight, he does say word for word, he's like, just give up, like, you've lost. Like, we can fight again, though. Like, anytime you want to, we can fight again. And it's like, okay, that's opened up a door. Grimmjow appears at the start of the arc. You don't see him till the very end. They still have a bit of a, like a funny bit of, like, attitude towards one another. And it's like Grimmjow still has that competitive look towards him. And even Ichigo's open for it, too. But at that time, they're on good terms. That being said, it's like, imagine, I know it would, like, have a bit of that Naruto versus Sasuke, type, vibe to it. If they were to just have it like, oh, well, the series ends off with the two rivals fighting, sort of like Vegeta and Goku, but it's like, with Bleach, it would be cool. Like, it'd be, like, and it was cool it was cool in those series too, but Grimmjow and Ichigo fighting again would be awesome.
I think it'd be interesting. I just don't think Grimmjow matches really up to end of series Ichigo.
No, it would have to be without the assistance of the Vasto Lorde, unless you have a second release, and then you could have Kubo just be like, well, he did train, because something interesting about Grimmjow that no one pays attention to is the author is implying that he is able to actually be a threat to Askanaklivar, but the problem is that Askanaklivar's hacks, and then people say, oh, well, Grimmjow got fondled by Askan. Bro, so did Ichigo. He's hacks as fuck. Like, it doesn't like, mean anything. Grimmjow in the novels is, like, doing some cool stuff. I mean, Grimmjow in general, being able to, like, blitz Urahara, and then also blitz Askan and then almost kill him, and he's running away trying to set up traps, is, like, that's a good sign to me. Ichigo looked visibly, like, shocked when he unsheathed his sword and walked towards him, too, so it's kind of like, he's obviously gotten stronger. Am I saying he's Ichigo's level? Like, not necessarily, but there is always room to make those improvements. You can always have it so that Grimmjow, like, has a second release that, like, puts him on that level, because with the multipliers, like, he should be able to. Like, it shouldn't be that crazy of a deal for people to consider that.
I mean, the thing is I like Grimmjow, but I never considered that as an opportunity for story, right?
It's an obvious continuation off of the third fight where Ichigo does verbatim say he'll do it. With Aizen, there's literally nothing that implies that they have that sort of tension to fight again, because at the end of their fight, if there's anything there, Ichigo says he feels bad for Aizen because he can sense loneliness from his sword. Like, there's no competitiveness there. There's no, like, even continuing, like, I want to fight this guy. Like, there's none of that whatsoever. With Aizen, too, when he does interact with Ichigo, doesn't seem like they got beef, do they really? It's kind of like, alright, I know you're still a bad guy, but I'm willing to work with you. Like, there's no, I want to fight you again. I've never seen that at all.
I think that's one of the best parts of the ending of the story, was Aizen's working with Ichigo to fight Yubak. Like, I don't know. I know a lot of people don't like the final fight, and I get why. But that's one aspect of the final fight I absolutely adore in the story.
Me too. I think it's dropped up. Yeah. I think Kubo dropped the ball. I think you have it so that Aizen is the plot device for the fight. So imagine Aizen is the ball in this situation that the cast needs to use to win the fight. Aizen has Yubak in checkmate. He has him under the hypnosis. He is transcended. So he's Kyoka Suigetsu won't be broken, right? He's very, very, very strong. Like, he's got him in checkmate. Have it so that Renji Ichigo and then Mr. Grimmjow appears, and people like Nell... Oh, here's an idea I had for a long time. Fucking Ishin appears with Ryuken, because Ishin would be able to have words with Yuha, like, you stole Masaki from me. Like, where the fuck is that shit? Like, where is all that?
Oh
like,
my gosh, totally agree.
And then you have it so they all work around Aizen being the key to the fight. Again, he's the ball. They're all on a football field and they're trying to work their way around Yuha. And then it's like, okay, we play around Aizen, and then we eventually beat Yuha by fucking with his abilities, because he will hit the wrong person. He will fuck up his almighty ability. He'll think that he's changing reality when he's not. He'll think he's attacking someone when he's not. Like, it's so easy to do it. Because the reason I say Grimmjow isn't because I'm a fan. I say Grimmjow because he is going to be the one that protects Hueco Mundo. He said it himself. If Hueco Mundo, gets destroyed, where's he going to go? So, like, that's why he's in the war. And then with Ishin, he rocks up with Mr. Ryuken. We've never seen Ryuken fight before, which is fascinating. Ryuken might talk to Yuha too. Ishin does. Ishin goes Bonkai. Just saying. It was hinted at for a long time. Imagine him going Bonkai against Yuha.
That would be so hype. Like, I'd just be, like, jumping up and down, like, freaking out. Hopefully we see his Bonkai.
Yeah, it'd be the best fan service ever, bro. It'd be insane. I just know. Like, if I was to help out Kubo, like, with that stuff, and just be like, these are my genuine suggestions as someone who, like, knows the series very well. I please consider this stuff, because he's a very open-minded guy. Originally, to go back to Grimjaw, Grimjaw was going to get killed off from the story in his first fight, and there's evidence for it too, because when Grimjaw first appears, he is super hostile towards everybody, like talking shit to every single person in the series. The type of character that's just going to get killed off because he's a loudmouth. But his author editor leans over and he's like, "This Grimjaw guy is kind of cool. You sure you want to get rid of him?" And then Kubo was like, "No, I'll keep him around. He is actually pretty cool, huh?" So there you go. That's why he's around.
That's cool. I never knew that. That's actually really awesome. I know that there's a lot of editor suggestions and ideas given to Kubo during the arrancar arc.
Yeah,
I think those things. Some of those things not being the best.
Yeah.
Other things being good for the story. Example, the arrancar arc lasting way longer than how long it should have. But yeah.
I heard that was milked. I heard that was milked a lot because it was performing well in sales, so they wanted him to make it longer, which was, in truth, a bit of a detriment because there was a lot of fights that were probably unneeded.
I think, especially the fights that the lieutenants got in Fake Kakura Town.
Oh my god, that Charlotte fight! I wanted to blow my head off. That was so boring.
I like the Shuhei stuff. Shuhei stuff was cool because I think that was good.
Shuhei was good because of the anime, though. Let's be real. Like the anime went crazy.
That fight, that animation. Some of the best in Bleach. You want to know what I want to know about the anime? How come some of the filler arcs have better animation than the actual canon arcs?
I know why. I'll tell you something funny before we get into that, though. When I watched Bleach the first time, I actually missed the Shuhei fight in the anime because I was skipping past the filler so much, I accidentally skipped that episode. And I went back and rewatched it a couple of years ago, and I was like, holy shit, I've never even seen this! What is this fight? And it was, it was mind-blowing. Very impressive, but that was a shock. But I'll tell you why the filler looks better. So, the main anime is handled by basically a bunch of artists that generally take care of the main anime all the time. Like, that's their job, and they switch out guys here and there, depending on, hey, we need this guy to work on Naruto, hey, this guy is moving to a different studio, whatever, shit happens. But the reason why the fillers look better is because time is everything to an artist, and when a filler arc is made, it is not meant to be rushed because it's basically pre-planned, so they'll have animators working on these episodes on the side, so that once the anime needs to go on a break, the main anime, they're like, alright, we have a whole filler arc prepared, let's just put that on air on TV, and that's how you get the, I think it's called the Regai arc, like, is that the name of it, with the R?
It's the Gotai 13 Regai versus Regai, or whatever it's called.
Like, Soifon versus Komamura looks like the kind of fight where if you were to release that nowadays, it's like something from a movie. It's so well done. It's insane. And the reason being is because
the final fight. Yeah, the final fight being between, I can't remember his name, but Asu versus Ichigo, the villain of the Regai arc.
Is that the one with the nuclear Getsuga Tensho?
Oko. Ichigo versus Oko. And the fight looks so bloody good. Like, oh my gosh. You have this guy spinning his, like, Zanpakuto, I think it is. It's been a while since I watched the actual fight. Like, it's emotional, it's tense, and it's just the Regai arc is brilliant in animation. Like I'd watch that arc just because it looks pretty. Like, is it as well animated as, say, something like Demon Slayer? No, but it's
some of it is, though. Alright, Demon Slayer, like, it helps that it's a bit more modern day and so on, but bro, if they release, I have the DVD rips of the Regai arc, like with Soifon versus Komamura. I was sitting there watching it, and I was blown away. Like, I was genuinely blown away. I'm like, this shit looks like the kind of stuff which, if it was to release, people would be blown away. Like, nowadays, it's that good. Those Sakuga artists were built different. Like, when Komamura falls over, it looks like a scene from, if someone was to have linked me that and I didn't know what it was, and they were just like, oh, here's a leak from, like, a Bleach movie they're making, I'd be like, is that real? Like, it looks that good?
Yeah. It's of the, like, it's wild. I really wish. I'm happy that the Fullbringer arc, the ending portion, got that level of animation given to it.
Yeah, because, like, the fight's good, isn't it, against Ginjo, but it lacks a bit of detail on the characters. They look a little funky sometimes.
I'll say that much, but the animation is definitely there. It's just maybe not the art is there all the time. Yeah. I think Fullbringer arc had pretty good animation. I think it was very low at the start of the season, but as the season continued, it got better and better.
Bleach would have benefited so much from
Yeah.
actually going on physical breaks instead of filler breaks, because every time it would return, people would be excited for canon stuff, and that's, and then it gives the animators time, because, again, animators, like, you don't just throw money into a machine and animation pops out. Like, bro, animating is hard. Like, this is the way I like to put it to people. If you're bad at drawing, now, think about someone who's good at drawing. But they're fantastic at drawing. In fact, they work for a Japanese animation studio. Now, imagine this person has to draw so many frames of a character moving, with changes, with editorial things coming into mind, with color added to it. They have to not only just draw a character, not just once, but we're talking fucking thousands of times to then make sure that it's in movement and perfect, right? The stress that these guys go through is absolutely crazy. Like, it's so time consuming, and they're rushed. Like, and then they get paid peanuts for what they do.
It's so unfair, the amount of work and effort that they put in and what they get paid for. That's one thing that I hate about the industry. It's the same. Like, that's one thing I am happy about with, like, at least the mangaka sides of things. They're overworked, but Kubo is sitting in millions now. Yeah. He's one of the more fortunate mangakas, though, to be fair.
Yeah, mangakas make good money, but the animators, they don't make too much money. Because one thing a mangaka does is, like, bro, you write the next One Piece and your name's attached to it. It doesn't matter if you sign a deal where Shonen Jump's like, alright, you'll get 20%. That 20%, we're talking fucking millions. Like, that's so much money they're going to be making, even if the deal's bad. I'm not saying 20%'s okay. I'm just saying, like...
And they are being overworked. Like, I will say that they're being overworked, and it's so unfair how many hours they have to work, and I wish that their life work treatment was better. But you also have to think, even the lower-end series in Shonen Jump still sell 60,000 copies, and up to that number. And even if they're making 10% of that, or 15-20% of that, they're still making, like, 40 grand,
Yeah, they're still making, like, not bad money. I think Kubo, I might have read it wrong, I think Kubo's worth like $50 million or something like that. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's insane. I'm happy that he deserves it for being overworked for...
Yeah. A lot of them like
years.
it. You know what sucks? Like, I'm not saying this to defend Shonen Jump, because they're not in the right. Like, but here's the thing. It's kind of like, it's the business model. Like, when you're a mangaka, it is what you're signing up for at the end of the day. And if you want to be in the best industry, you've sort of got to deal with it, because that's what you're signing up for. So if you think about people like Togashi's example is kind of like, he can take breaks whenever he wants, which is great. And so can a lot of the big mangakas, which is nice. But some of them, they don't like to. They just want to work, because like, nah, bro, I've got that work ethic. I'm committing to this. I'm getting it done. Ichiro Oda is an example. He's a certified workaholic. The dude was so sick from working, he started writing while he was in hospital. Like, that's how committed he is. I agree. I wish their workload was smaller, but the fact of the matter is, the industry, like, they enjoy what they do, a lot of them. Like, they actually do enjoy what they do. They can take breaks. It's not like they've got a gun to their head. Like, the younger ones definitely have to commit to the work, because you can't just, like, come into Shonen Jump, write a few consistent chapters for, like, a year or two, and then you're like, alright, time to slack off and just, shit one out every 6 months. Like, you've...
Oh, yeah. I'm sure Kubo could have said, I want a year off.
Yeah, and I wish he did that. I really wish he did that for the war. I would have... Bro, He needs better advisors, and so do these mangakas, because I would have said to him, like, dude, take a year off, bro. Like, people will wait for it. Just, even if you do a chapter once every 6 months, take your time. 100-page chapters, people would get so excited. Don't waste this, man. Take your time. Even if it takes you 10 years, just finish it correctly.
And heck, the big thing with Bleach, too, is people say that Bleach's sales dipped off, which is a big misconception. Take the sales, take the actual facts. If you look at, between the anime ending... Between the so that Bleach had very little advertising, especially after the anime ended. It was the best-selling manga in Shonen Jump without an anime going up weekly for its time.
It was like this. So there was definitely a sales dip. Like, it definitely did decrease in sales with the manga after Aizen's defeat, and it also did dip when it comes to the way that the the anime actually ended, and then the manga started to decline and so on. But the thing people don't think about when you look at the sales is when Bleach was having its worst year, it was having a year that still sold better than Black Clover. That's.
Oh no! Even in Bleach's worst year, it has it has its volumes still outsold in like the 3-week timers than volumes of hit series like My Hero Academia.
See what I mean? Like it's so crazy. It was all there. It's just like people in Shonen Jump just didn't care. There was some guy that used to work for Shonen Jump that like, you know, he's been turned into a bit of a villain. Like he actually despised and hated Bleach. I think it was just more the guy didn't care for it and didn't bother to put effort towards it. Whereas the new dude at Shonen Jump is very pro Bleach, and now look at it. It's gonna be their biggest series when the anime comes back. Like people are gonna go insane.
Yeah. I do know that while I don't think the old guy loved Bleach, I do know that there was nothing that had him like cancel Bleach. The Bleach manga canceling is a rumor.
Oh, it's been confirmed. Like it's been confirmed verbatim. The studio said that they went to Kubo and they're just like, do you have any ideas for some filler we can do? And they were like, nah. So they put the anime on break, and then as time went on, it just happened to, you know, other series got picked up by the studio.
Oh no, the anime. Yeah. I'm talking about the manga.
Oh, the manga. Oh, sorry. I might have misheard you.
Yeah.
As for the manga,
good.
The manga there is a misconception that it got cancelled. It was more Kubo has said word for word that he was sick and just wanted to wrap it up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kubo said that he was sick. The only reason why he apparently continued to its end was because there was a kid, I think he had cancer or something, and he sent a letter to Kubo wanting to see the end of Bleach. And that was one of the big things that kept Kubo going for the longest time. I know that he said that he thought about quitting several times, but then it was that one of those letters that made him want to finish Bleach to its end. And end it the way he wanted to end it.
Oh, I hate that statement there. So the idea with the kid is like that's very wholesome, and it's also sad too. Mm-hmm. The thing that sucks is we know he didn't end it on his terms because everything started to get rushed as fuck the second Ichigo comes back from the Soul Palace. Like you can feel the series accelerating, and there's so much stuff that gets dropped that never even gets touched up on. Kishimoto made a similar statement about Naruto where he's like, I got to finish Naruto on my terms. It's like, but you didn't really though, bro, because like what happened was that after the series ended, all the pairings happened, and then they just like went straight to Boruto while you were working on Samurai 8. Like that's obvious that you weren't fully, you didn't fully decide how it was going to end. Togashi had the same problem with Yu Hakusho. Like Yu Hakusho was meant to go for another arc, but Togashi like tied it up in a way where like it was sort of impossible. And then it was like, well, I'm done for a bit, and then he came back with Hana Hana.
Mm-hmm. I think when Kubo says that statement, he's referring to the final chapter, like the final chapter. I'm sure in the end game of the series, I think he would have liked to flesh out a lot more stuff. It's actually kind of funny, because I look at like the things that the Thousand Year Blood War did well, and the things that the Thousand Year Blood War did wrong, and then I take a look at the Arrancar arc, and the things that arc did well, and the things that arc did wrong, and I think they're literally the opposite. Like, I think the Arrancar arc was too fleshed out, while Thousand Year Blood War wasn't fleshed out enough at some parts.
Thousand Year Blood War has a lot of missed opportunities. Arrancar arc has a lot of things that are reused from the Soul Society arc. I was watching Super Eye Patch Wolf's video on my stream, and I agreed with him up until I think the 15-minute mark, and then the video just was nonsense after that. But I was agreeing with a lot of the things he was saying. Like he did point out something valid, which was the premise of the Arrancar arc was quite similarly structured to the Soul Society arc, and so on.
I agree that it's similarly structured. However, the execution's completely different in my opinion. I think, but like here, and it's great that we're having one disagreement, in this video, because we've both agreed. I think, at least in my opinion, you take some examples and the way that they're executed is different. For example, in fact, I made an entire video taking a look at this criticism Eyepatchwolf gave, and the arcs themselves, while they're similar, and they definitely have like almost like story structure, like structure as in, Ichigo goes out to save somebody, but all that. However, the fights themselves each serve a different purpose to gain to that final point. And many other stories do the same thing. We look at One Piece and there's arcs with similar story structure that reuse and do similarities. Okay.
Their structure is, go to the new island. The female introduces them to the island. Luffy beats a dictator of island, and it's like that happens like 4 times in the series. And now Crocodile, Doflamingo, like, so many of them I can think at the top of my head. So I'll make my point like real clear. So I think that the arrancar arc, like, it's obviously much different, and even the themes of the villains are much different. And so once Aizen goes to Karakura Town too, like the whole thing's completely different to the Soul Society arc. It's just the reusing of the formula is my issue, where I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you probably could have did a bit better, Kubo. Like, it's like, because he has said word for word that he wasn't expecting Bleach to go for as long as it did, so it's kind of like, I know he's doing things on the fly, but he's also trying his very best to make it a very coherent, connected story, and like, he actually does a good job. I just think his biggest issue is that he wastes time on things that don't even need to be fleshed out. Examples being, some of the Fruction and Privodon Espada fights are just so boring, and they don't need to happen. And what about this? In the War Arc, are you telling me he actually enjoyed drawing Pepe? Are you telling me he enjoyed drawing that motherfucker? Like, oh my god.
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming from. I think some of the similarities that Eye Patchwolf made were ridiculous, like Ukiora and Byakuya. Aizen versus Ichigo, he says, has no thematic value or something like that. Bullshit. It's just Ichigo versus the big bad guy.
No, it's not. It's complete bullshit.
It's not. It's literally, one, it's about a guy who, it's about a character who became a god in quotations, who became an ascended being through an object. Another guy who became a god through natural means. And it's that perspective as well. And then there's several other themes that
there's a lot of stuff in that. Yeah. Like, for the audience for the audience that's listening to this, so like, there's a couple of things in that fight which Kubo portrays very, very well, and it's not just even in the fight itself, but it's a lot of things connected to it. Examples being, so Ichigo must deal with the fact that at the start of the series, he always wanted the power to change and protect his friends. He wanted to change things to protect his friends. He gets Shinigami powers. He is now weighing up the idea that he's going to lose his friends, so he must sacrifice that power and say goodbye to his sword in this very emotional scene where it's like, to use the Mugetsu, you must allow me to stab through you and accept this, right? And then on top of that, you're going to lose me permanently if you're to use this attack. You must accept that. And then it's like, you have that attached to it. You have Aizen, right, with his, like, loneliness of his character, where we're starting to see, like, alright, what's beneath the mask of this edgy villain? Like, is he actually stone cold and evil as fuck, or is there more to him? And Ichigo does say there's more. There's more to the fight, too. Ichigo.
Aizen's death speech.
Well, I'll get onto that, too. So, the thing Ichigo's battling with, too, in this fight, is also that, and Rukia notices this after his fight with Ukiora, he doesn't feel hatred towards the people that he's fighting. He in fact, like, he feels compassion, and that's why when Yami talks badly about Grimmjow and Ukiora, he's like, how can you like treat your comrades this way, like, and speak this way? And then Rukia sees in his face, he's like, oh, this is a man who is, conflicted. Like, he's actually, like, depressed right now, and then you can see that with the fact that the mask feels heavier from the transformation. Gin is saying that he's, like, doesn't have a look in his eyes that he can respect anymore. Ichigo's fighting inconsistently in their fight, and then in general, when Ichigo finally comes out of the Dongai, and people just don't even consider how big of a deal this is, apart from the power up, is that, bro, Ichigo has been in the Dongai for 3 straight months, right? While things have been going normally outside. His father is sitting there holding the Dongai open, dying from using his spiritual pressure. Aizen has messed around with his friends, killed people, caused massive problems, orchestrated their lives getting completely fucked up, on top of, the stuff he told Ichigo about, planning out his life and stuff like that, and, I've watched you since you were born, blah, blah, blah. So he's having, like, a mental conflict. And then when he steps out of the Dongai, there's a look on his eyes where Gin's like, yeah, that's the look that I was expecting. Like, he's committed. I know I can leave it to you and you're going to take care of everything. But it's not just that. Ichigo is frustrated. Like, he is angry, like, at Aizen, and he's also depressed too. Like, he's gonna lose his Shinigami powers. That's why he says, I'm sick of listening to you, I'm gonna finish this now, Aizen, like, let's get this over and done with. Like, he has no time for his bullshit whatsoever. So you see a character develop, except what's gonna happen to him, his relationship with his Zanpakuto. We get to see Aizen, his like, it's kind of like what you said, where it's like, someone who is like, who gains power versus someone who sort of like, has to sacrifice something to get it and stuff. Like, it's an interesting parallel. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and there's even, I'm not going to go into this part, I'll let you talk now, but basically there's even shit in that fight that's like related to religious Buddhism type stuff when it comes to the forms of the characters and how they gain their powers and so on, and Ichigo becoming this transcendent, overpowered being, like, you know, there's a lot in that fight. I just wish it was longer. That's my last comments.
That's fair. I agree. I think the fight should have been longer for sure. I really do love Aizen's entire, like, death. I don't mean to say death. The speech that he said when he was being sealed away against Kisuke, and it really brings on an interesting perspective. But I'm going to kind of move on from Aizen versus Ichigo. It was just such
you can if you want. I'm interested to talk about this. I'm interested to talk about this because there's one more thing I'd like to add after you close it up.
Yeah, you can add your thing, and then I can say what I'm thinking.
You'll see there's a common theme with Aizen. He doesn't like the authority from the captains, from Yamamoto, from the Zero Division, from the Soul King, and he stresses that a lot to Urahara, where he's like, you know, how could you serve that thing? You know, he hates the idea of, like, how the world works. And then you'll see with Aizen, the moment he's willing to cooperate with the Shinigami is when he is immortal, which could be tied to the Hell stuff, where it's like he knows that if he dies, he goes to Hell, so maybe there's something connected to there. Obviously, that wasn't planned in the past, but if it is, it's really good. So you've got that, right? So consider, you know, Aizen's reached immortality. He knows he's not going to go to Hell. He knows he can just live forever, whatever. But now he's content. He gets to sit in the chair, ponder things, chill, and just think about life. And what does he do when the Shinigami let him out of the Mugen? He doesn't attack them. He says the same thing to Yuha. Like, listen, I'm not on their side. I'm just not going to live in a world where you run things. Like, that's what he says. And it's like, he takes action when his ability to live a content solo life is threatened. So it's like, this man has found contentness in being immortal and being left alone. Because, alright, you could say, oh, he fucked with the Central 46 guys and their arms vanished. Like, that's their own fault. They shouldn't have touched him. And, like, he also doesn't like them to begin with. That's just a matter of, like, hey, just stay away from me.
He also warned them,
He did.
too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was actually the point that I was going to kind of make, the whole authority perspective and how he looked at Kisuke and was like, how could you know how this whole system is built on a lie and let rule over you? Like, and that entire perspective, you can see both sides. Like, these two individuals know that everything, and I think you really get to understand the perspective once you read Can't Fear Your Own World. I haven't finished Can't Fear Your Own World, but I still understand the perspective. I haven't gone to the third volume yet.
I'm a bit suspect about the novels, because, like, the thing that I know from the novels is that you can see that somebody else is writing them more than Kubo is, and that's very evident by the power scaling stuff that's in there. It's very weird, some of the stuff that I've seen. I won't give my full thoughts on it. Like, if it gets animated, I'm fully down to give it a try. Hopefully Kubo, you know, he'll add his own flair to it and whatever, but I don't like what I've seen, to be completely honest.
Then I wouldn't read Spirits Are Forever With You if I were you then. Because from what I heard, Spirits Are Forever With You is way less Kubo involved. Like, Kubo was somewhat involved with Can't Fear Your Own World. He gave the outline for the story and aspects like that. Heck, when the whole thing went down, and if you read the last volume, it has like an interview between Kubo, Ryuji, I think his name is, Ryuga, something like that, the author of Can't Fear Your Own World. And they're having an interview and they're discussing the creation of Can't Fear Your Own World, and how at the end of Bleach there was still stuff that he wanted to explore but couldn't. So, like, when he was sick and when he knew that he had to bring it to an end, you know, he told Jump ahead of, and this is another point against the whole Bleach's manga was canceled, you know, he told Jump ahead of time that Bleach is gonna end. Like, it's not like Jump canceled midway. He told them that it was going to end in 2 years.
Yeah, it's just bullshit spread by people. Yep.
But I get why. Like when I'm reading it, I can kind of see that. I like the story, but some stuff to some people might feel a little more fanficky. It wasn't really fanficky to me, you know? But I could see where, like, somebody could come in while they're reading and be like, okay, this kind of feels more like it wasn't written by Kubo.
Yeah, I just, something really bothers me when I'm like, I'll be reading something and I'm just like, ooh, I know this person doesn't actually understand the series too well when it comes to scaling stuff. There was a little bit of that in Boruto. I won't talk about this too much, but there was, you remember the whole element where it's like only real fire can affect this character? Did you ever hear about that? And it's like, bro, but by you putting that in the series, you might destroy the way that the power system works, because you're now making a differential between fire with jutsu and then fire in real life, like that there is a nature difference between the two, and it's like, oh, now it's complicated. So then when it's like with versus stuff, it's like, so if I have real fire from, like, let's say I whip out a lighter and I can like blow air at it and then make it hit Naruto, like, or whoever in the series, it's like, does that mean I can injure him more? Like, you know, like, or whatever.
So when it comes to Naruto, because I'm more of a Bleach person, but when it comes to the world of Naruto, I stopped after Pain. I still need to peep the war.
Oh, dude, the war is fantastic. It's just, if you skip the boring, like, villain of the week, like, zombie fights, like, it's really good. Like, when Madara appears, shit is insane. Like, when...
That's why I want to read it, because of Madara. I hear Madara is, like, eyes and tear level guy.
Watch it, because when Naruto finally gets his Kyuubi chakra cloak, it's such a powerful scene. It is really good.
I might have to watch it then. I know what happens in Boruto and somewhat what happens in the work. Like, I know the story just from being around. You know, I'm on the Annie Twitter. That sounds disgusting when I say that out loud. I'm on Twitter and I see anime posts. That sounds better. So I see some Naruto stuff, and it's always interested me. I still think the way that Sasuke lost his eye was bullcrap, but
he's getting treated like they're just putting him in that Vegeta jobber role, and that's a problem with Vegeta. Like, he gets treated like shit, and it's just, bro, people don't want to see this man. Like, it makes all the struggles that the characters have gone through cheapen, because now it's like, oh, they've just got tossed aside as a plot device to make the main character look cool as a stronger person. Like, that's not cool, bro. It's lame.
Yeah. I have a scaling question, actually, when it comes to Naruto. I mean, Boruto, kind of, and / Naruto. So, isn't Sasuke's ability to be able to see, like, have a higher perception? Like, that's one of his main abilities.
Well, I mean, the Sharingan inherently is meant to give you, like, some level of precog. Yeah, like, you're meant to be able to...
So, how does Boruto... Well, it's not Boruto in control, but you know what I mean. How does he stab an eye that lets him pretty much see and perceive stuff? How does he get surprise attacked?
I can't answer it, like, too well, because, like, of the way, like, I don't care about Boruto that much, but I would assume it's maybe fatigue, maybe it's a shock value moment, maybe Sasuke's not on guard towards Boruto because he doesn't need to be. It's not like it works like an automatic sensor. Like, if you focus on something, you can, you can then perceive things and so on. Like, it gives you... Like, if I'm looking at you and I have my Sharingan out, like, of course it's going to focus on you, and, like, I know I can, like, you know, have some sort of, like, level of detail and precog to what you're about to do, but it's not, like, automatic where if Sasuke's asleep, it'll just open up and then avoid an attack, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, that makes actually a whole lot more sense.
That's how I would imagine, you know, if I was to argue, that's what someone would probably say.
But at the same time, my issue comes in is, if I'm not mistaken, and again, I haven't read every... in Boruto, heck, I haven't finished the work, so I don't know the meats and the details. But I thought Sasuke knew that Boruto had Momoshiki in him. Wait, no, it's not Momoshiki, it's somebody else. No, it is Momoshiki. I don't know.
Was it Ichigo or Momoshiki?
Again,
I can't even remember.
I can't remember. I think it's Momoshiki. Okay.
Go on, though.
You know... Yeah, so how does... if I remember correctly, Sasuke noticed Momoshiki in Boruto. Or maybe that's just my head.
Well, I mean, wasn't it, like, shown in the story that, like, eventually, like, that was something connected, but, like, after the Momoshiki fight, like, he was contacted, like, in that sort of, like, floating realm thing, like Boruto was.
Yeah, well, it was with Sasuke
could see like,
Momoshiki.
Are you saying, like, you should be on guard in case something bad happens? Like,
yeah, like, knowing Sasuke's character, wouldn't he be on guard? Nah,
it's too unpredictable. Like, you don't know, like, when something like that's gonna happen. Like, how do you tell? It's like, Sasuke doesn't know everything about the Otsutsuki. He doesn't know, like, they have the ability to just, like, take over someone's body and attack me at any moment. Like, you know, he's not really aware of that. Like, it's, again, fatigue, not focus. Like, it could be anything. Like, it could be just like, alright, he just made a mistake and he was open, like, whatever. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to talk about Boruto too much because like
it's not, you already made an hour video on this.
it's not something that like I want to talk about as if I'm not. I'll be honest with the audience. Like I'm not going to sit here and be like I know everything because I don't. Like I don't care too much about it, so I don't want to talk out my ass.
Yeah, no, I definitely need to check out the Naruto War arc. It seems interesting.
Dude,
I mean, it's funny.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Guess what I hear? Like, it's good when Madara is there. There's a few rough parts, and there's a lot of filler. I assume that you can just skip the filler.
Absolutely. All filler and any fights where you're like, I don't even care for this, just, of course, skip ahead. But, like, don't miss out on stuff like all the Obito versus Naruto stuff. Don't miss out on, all the stuff to do with, what was I going to say? There's something specific I was going to say. I mean, obviously all the Madara stuff's good. Oh, Might Guy versus Madara is insane. Don't miss that.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to try and peep it eventually. Yep. What are your thoughts on Squad Zero?
Squad Zero, letdown, should have had longer fights. Pretty much, yeah. It's like, Squad Zero, every one of them is dog shit, except Ichigo. Like, that's how it's, like, perceived. They were a massive letdown, to be honest. You would think, judging by the way that statement says in the chapter where they're introduced, like, all stronger than the Gote 13. It's like, okay, so in my head when I hear that, I'm imagining just one of them, like Senjumaru, like that's the one that looks like Soifon, isn't it? Just to be sure I don't mess up the name. So that's Senjumaru, right?
Yeah, Senjumaru's the one with the arms.
Yeah, because she looks cool. Like I would imagine in my head, I'm like, we're gonna see some.
I liked her fight.
The problem is, bro, like they all get shit on. Like, and when you think about how strong they should be, I'm thinking a girl like that is gonna have some Sasori type Naruto fight where she could hypothetically take on 3 of the captains and have no problem. Like that sort of strength. But they don't feel that way. Like they all, like Lily Barra is like, by the way, the power those Quincy's have, that's mine, and then just like shits on all of them, like.
So no, I think my issue with it is they just needed more pages, more chapters. Kubo dug himself for the hole there. Like if they weren't hyped up as much as they were, it would have been fine the way that Kubo handled them, But I think because of how hyped up they were, like they were hyped up to be stronger than the Gotai 13.
And they turn out to
ran into this issue.
They turn out to not be that strong. Like you've got Shunsui who takes on Lily Barra, who has his actual real powers and keeps up with him even until he's Volständig. It's like, bro, Shunsui stronger than the majority of the Zero Division by default, with that being shown.
I'm hoping the anime decides to flesh them out more. What I wanted to happen.
They will. Like, every fight, you can see it with the original anime, and then Naruto does this all the time, but, like, they'll make all the fights much longer, which is something I'm very excited for, because there's a lot of choreography I can imagine them adding to so many fights. Ichigo versus the Quincy girls is going to be cool. Like, when he appears and blitzes them all, like, that's going to be cool.
Oh, the best Quincy's,
that's gonna be good.
And what do you think about
the way she turned out was so lame. Strong character, really cool. Just turn into shit.
I hated the second that she was killed and turned into a zombie. It created a very interesting narrative later on in the story, but I despised it. It was like watching a character. It's speaking of Boruto. It's like watching a character that you love go to something that you hate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was the issue with how Bambi was handled. Because, heck, I love Bambi. She's one of my favorite Stern writers. I really like Kuro. I understand why your statements about him. I actually agree with some of them. I think he could have had
I really like how
better.
Kubo drew the explosions for Bambi,
Oh! Facts. Yeah. I love how she's just standing there walking up to Kamamura, exploding soldiers in the background.
And she's like, I'm going to destroy the Soul Society, and then Kamamura's like, no.
Do you think Kamamura should have lasted longer?
I think the fact that he didn't is kind of poetic, because the whole trade-off for vengeance is like, you don't always get what you want. That's sort of the hard part of it, It's like
he was a hypocrite.
It's hard. Like, I don't like that people act like that narrative is super overly deep, because it's like, bro, he wants to get revenge against the Quincy's, who killed the guy, the only person who gave him complete, apart from Kenpachi, by the way, because I have a thing about Kenpachi I want to say, Kenpachi and Yamamoto, but Yamamoto specifically, was the only individual, apart from Blind Tosin and Kenpachi, who had zero discrimination towards Komamura. And that's the one person in his existence that's given him a mental sort of like, teacher, influence. And he's like, I'm not going to have Genryusai Yamamoto and my Soul Society be disrespected like this. I'm willing to trade everything to get revenge for him. Which, like, I guess you could say revenge is, like, not always an honest cause, but what did he morally do wrong for that to make him a hypocrite?
Oh, no.
Well, I'm not trying to debate you. I'm just trying to say, like, you know what I mean? In general, people are like, well, vengeance. It's like, there's nothing that deep there. If anything, it's just, I would say, if anything, the theme there is, bro, life sucks dick, dude. And the fact that he was able to, sacrifice his powers, get rid of his coat of armor, which was him being a Soul Reaper, something he had a lot of pride in, and it still doesn't allow him to beat the main villain that killed Yuhabaki. He didn't even reach his throne room. He's like, that's pretty raw. I guess the cool part was that he saved the Soul Society, but yeah, he didn't even get to get what he wanted.
I definitely think that was, like, I think it was rooted specifically in vengeance, but, like, morally, I can totally understand Komamura's position. Because, like, one thing that you didn't mention about Yamamoto is Yamamoto not only was his, like, sensei, overseer, Yamamoto was the first individual to actually give Komamura that chance.
Yep, exactly.
A chance to live differently.
That's why he has so much pride in it.
Yeah. And that's why when Komamura wasn't the biggest fan of Kenpachi. Like, he viewed him as, like, another captain, but he didn't.
Let me clarify that point, and then I'll let you continue. I was watching the Kenpachi fight recently with him and Komamura, and there's an interesting quote between both of them. So Komamura takes off, his helmet. I think it gets cut off when he blocks a strike for Tosin. Is that right? Like, I think that's what happens. And then it comes off. Yeah. Well, Kenpachi looks at him, and they're about to fight, and then they're having a bit of like attitude. And Komamura's like, you're not shocked by my appearance, and he's like, I don't care what you look like, as long as you have like, as long as you can fight. Like, I hope that your appearance correlates to like a beastly strength. And it's like, Komamura's reply is being offended. He's like, oh, I see. All you care about is strength. You're just an animal who only cares about fighting. That's all you are, Kenpachi. And it's like, Komamura, wait a second. Kenpachi didn't even discriminate against you. He just said, the way I view someone's like worth is if they can actually fight me. Like, that's all. And even with that being said, when he fights Noyatora, he says, he's like, I'm not going to finish off somebody who's already dead. Like, that's not something for me. Like, you've lost the fight, I'm moving on with my day. Like, this dude actually has like, how would you say, he actually has like fight etiquette, I guess, or there's a word for it. Like, he's actually got that respect. You see it after a boxing match or a UFC fight where, like, dudes will, punch each other's heads in, but then afterwards they're like, alright, we have respect. That's how Kenpachi is. Like, there was legit no discrimination towards Komamura, and Komamura's reply sort of misunderstood Kenpachi. It's like, he's not saying, like, you're only, the only thing that's of value with you is fighting. He just basically, he evaluates someone as a threat based on not how they look or how they smell or what their attitude is. Or I guess attitude is a little bit there, but he's more just like, listen, can you fight me? Good, you've got my respect. Like, that's it.
Yeah. His value of other people is solely based on strength.
Pretty much, yeah. But even still, he's nice to people that aren't fighters. Like, Issei, Unohana's assistant. Is it Issei? Is that her name? Isane. I can't. Yeah, I was halfway there. Yeah, pretty much like the way he talks to Isane, respectful. The way he treats Yoichiro, respectful. The way he treats, I don't know, even Orihime, respectful. He fights female. But I remember somebody said some bullshit where it was like Kenpachi's sexist, and I was like, what? Like, he fights anybody as long as they're strong.
Yeah, I like Komamura's character. And when you try to understand Komamura as a character, he's one of the deeper characters in Bleach. In my opinion, he's one of the better written characters. Because, like, he was somebody who had to live through watching the two people closest to him disappear. And I think, and I don't know if anybody's ever made this comparison, but I love his comparison with Shunsui, actually. Because Shunsui is somebody who as well lost the two closest people to him. However, the way that they act is completely different. And I think Bleach uses the theme of vengeance quite frequently. And while I wouldn't say that Kamamura was morally in the wrong, you know, I definitely wouldn't say that. I think that Kamamura is a hypocrite in the sense of what he preached to Kaname was exactly what he was doing. But I love how Kubo writes that into the story. Like, Kamamura is my 10th favorite character in the story, which is apparently, from what I heard, a pretty rare thing. Not a lot of people show love to Kamamura, and I love his fight. I myself agree with you, where I like the fact they didn't make it to Yobak. But yeah, what do you think about that?
His war fight will give him justice, at least. And that's ironic, because of... ironic to use that wording because of the whole justice, you know, the theme of his character.
Yeah,
that's it. That's not much more to say about Komura, really. I guess if there's anything else you want to ask me in relation to Bleach, I mean, go ahead. We've got a good amount of content, I guess, for the podcast episode. But go ahead, I'll answer whatever.
So I asked in my community tab if anybody had any questions for you for the ending of this video. Okay. But before we get into that, there was one last thing I wanted to ask you. What did you think about the Hell arc? Like the chapter.
Promising, but I thought the weird 12-year thing was just something that like Kubo pulled out his ass. I was like, 12 years, bro. Like, I was like, it's so weird. It's such an arbitrary, like, just weird number to go with and stuff. And it's complicated. But I basically spoke about a lot of my thoughts on the Hell arc with someone called RTL Faith, and we spoke about that for like an hour and a bit. It was a pretty good video, but I enjoyed it. I think it has a lot of promise. My main focus is the War arc right now, but I believe that with the right setup, the Hell arc could have a lot of potential. I'll tell you just quickly what I'm hoping. I hope that Kubo introduces some sort of beings that are like these demoness things that are basically like replacements for like the Espada. They fit the role of how the Espada would in their arc. And I hope that they have some sort of energy that doesn't work like spiritual pressure, so that they create a problem for how the characters fight them. I hope that this Warden of Hell is very overpowered. I also hope that Kubo doesn't bring back too many dead characters, because that will create the Naruto war problem, where it becomes repetitive and characters' deaths become cheapened. Add in Aizen, obviously, the boy Grimmjow, just... Yeah, my main thing is just, as long as the... I'll say this. Make Ichigo look overpowered. There you
go. We need more Ichigo feats.
We do. Especially, like, because he cut the chain, so I was like, is that hinting towards the movie? But there was no thing towards that, so... Yeah.
No, I'm hoping that we get... I'm excited. I hope we do get a moment with Gin Ichimara, because he's my favorite character. But at the same time, I hope that there is...
Just like, people were like, oh, bring back Stark, and I'm like, realistically, Stark does not add anything to the story, apart from fan service.
Also, lore-wise, it would be a little weird, because Espada's... I don't know if they would work the same as Shinigami.
Oh, they go to hell.
They're judged after they get slain.
After...
Oh, no, yeah. Sazayoporo's in hell, and then Aranero's in hell. But what I'm saying is, when they are killed, they're judged differently.
So, I had this conversation in that video I referenced, and it was like, I was like, they're a conglomerate of multiple different beings, so how do you judge, like, a being that, like, which dominant personality gets punished? Because...
That's the issue.
It is, but they do get sent to hell from what we can see, so that's how it works. And then...
Yeah, the thing that we know about Granz is, though, is thanks to the light novels, we know Granz's backstory, so we know why Granz is in hell. He was a scientist that experimented on people. Funnily enough. But yeah, I see where you're coming from. Like, there's characters like Ukiora where I'm like... They don't even have any memories of anything about their past life. They know nothing about that. They just, like, as we see in the Ukiora's backstory, he just appears. And then you've read the backstory.
Yeah.
And all that. How does somebody like that get judged with the Zanpakuto or purified? Like, how would that work? Would he just go straight to hell? It's a lore question that will have to be answered. But yeah, they do go to hell.
About, like, I guess it's all about the sins they've committed when they're sentient and stuff. I think it's... I thought it was funny. It's like, how do you judge, like, someone like Ukiora, who was, born into a very suffering existence, and then when Aizen gives him a light, he commits sins not based on being an inherently evil person, but just based on the, what he thinks he's doing the right thing. He's trying to serve Aizen. He then understands what the meaning of life is via the, the heart, which is from Orihime and Ichigo, and like, why do these, how do these people not give up? Like, they have so much hope. Like, what is this? I don't understand it. And then he understands he's about to die. Like, there is, there's something there, and that is, it's kind of like, yeah, well, is this character inherently, like, evil? Like, I don't really think so, like, but I guess that argument can be made for anybody, really, it's all about the surroundings you're born into, like, it's a very, very interesting moral dilemma.
Yeah, and our tails to go. Okay, so I have a few questions now. Right. And some of these feel free not to answer. I'm not going to ask all of them, like somebody asked for feet pics when, so we're not going to get to that. But anyway, what are your thoughts on Kazui Kurosaki?
Thoughts on him? He only exists to make the story longer. It's probably a Shonen Jump idea. To say, like, I'm not gonna lie to the audience, I don't care too much about him, to be completely honest. The story that I'm interested in is Ichigo, so that's what I want. It's hard to say. If Kubo goes the Dragon Ball Z route rather than the Boruto type next series, then we should be fine. Because Gohan became a character that was very likable. He was done well, and Kazui probably could too, but the truth of the matter is, the story that we like is the one that we grew up with, the main character, so there we go.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that he absorbed remnants of Yamamoto's power?
Possible.
Because I know that's a popular
it's even if he did, I don't care. Like, really? Like, I don't care about his character.
Uh-huh. Okay. Fair enough. Next question is, well, we already kind of answered this, but what are you looking forward to the most in the Hell Arc?
In the Hell Arc, the stuff I said before, just stuff I said before.
Yeah. And then ask him, do you have any plans when it comes to his content in regards to the anime's return or the possible manga's continuation?
I'm gonna stream the new episode every time it drops on Twitch, so I have a live reaction with the chat every time it drops. I think it'll be very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, it'll be fun every week, and then with characters, like, I can just do power scaling videos on a lot more characters and go really in depth with them. There's a lot of characters I can make videos on where, I'm not in a rush to do a lot of these because the anime still hasn't returned, but there's just so much potential for good content.
Yeah.
So,
like, I think, especially because your content gave me the impression that you loved the arrancar arc a lot more.
No, it's just the stuff that I have like my perfect scaling for. Like, I can't wait to do the war stuff. Like, the next big video I really want to do is, like, I want to do like a 50-minute Yamamoto video and, like, cover everything to do with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. After the Smash or Pass video.
Yeah, I'm still gonna edit that, but once that's done, it'll be all good.
And then what do you think is going on with Zangetsu? Where did the dual blades go?
If I was to guess, like, there's, like, probably some weird thing where Ichigo is, like, I know this is, like, such a fan theory thing, like, maybe he's doing some training where he's always in Bonkai, like what Goku and Gohan did with Super Saiyan 1 during the Cell Saga to master the form. Maybe there's some weird stuff where he's stuck constantly in Bonkai. I don't know, it's weird. It still doesn't even really make sense why he was always in Shikai throughout the whole series. Why did that need to be a thing that he was always in Shikai,
Yeah. I didn't like that aspect, actually, of the manga and anime.
It's just weird. Yeah.
I don't know. But, there was already an announcement on this, but I guess I'll ask it anyway. What is the status of the Ichigo versus Naruto fight?
It's coming together very well. I would say 2022 is looking more promising than in the past, and things have accelerated a lot.
Dang, I was expecting it to be like 2023, 2024.
Nah, it's too far away. No, we're getting to the stage where things are coming along quicker than in the past, so.
Is there a trailer release date? I can't remember.
Not a release date, but there will be a trailer.
Okay, yeah, I know that Seth was promoting the trailer, or something like that.
It's something we're like working on, but yeah.
And those are all the questions. Shout out to anybody who left a question. I know, quite a few questions.
Oh, it's all good. At least it was just straightforward and nothing weird, so that's always good.
Yeah, except the Phoenix one.
That's
that
funny.
was very weird. Anyway, guys, if you guys have not checked out Clyde's channel, I mean, you probably have, because you guys are Bleach fans for the most part. Check it out anyway if you guys haven't. He makes a lot of power scaling content, and it's very interesting as you dive deep into each interesting character. I really like your Stark video. It was 50 minutes of an Espada that nobody talks about, which was nice.
I'm glad you like that. Like, a lot of people are like, bro, you didn't talk about Stark enough, and I'm like, dude, the premise of the video is, was he really the strongest Espada? So I need to break down why the others are above him, and I can't wrap that up in 5 minutes. Like, there is so much to talk about. So I was like, look, this...
And Stark is my second favorite Espada, so it was really cool seeing another video on. But yeah, guys, thank you guys for watching the video. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, comment down below your thoughts on the video, and in the words of Ginichimaru, bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you for having me on.
No problem, bro. Thanks for coming on.